HGC is back for another weekend full of sensational heroes plays. And I am Gillyweed here with Jay Howe as we bring you all of the North American action. Now Jay Howe, we've seen a lot more Blaze since he had some buffs, mostly buffs. Had maybe one talent nerf there, but otherwise a lot more in both Korea and Europe. Does that mean it's time for some North American Blaze?
It's time to get a light because, as you asked last week, need a light. I think it's time we get that light here in North America. I heard on one person's stream that, you know, one of the top teams are like, hey, we just started practicing it this past week. I'm not going to say who it is, but they did make that announcement, so we know that teams are now practicing it. I got a feeling we're going to see it.
Yeah, you know, when you have a new hero come in, it takes a little bit of time, especially since teams are playing on previous patches. So they're adopting that in, bringing in more of the changes, and I look forward to maybe getting to see a Blaze as well as the Tyrael rework, which is now available in our HGC patch. But let's take a look at the standings from North America and see what shook down after last weekend. Through matches between Team 12, Tempo Storm, and Team Freedom emerged at the top of the region, at least for now. Not a single series lost yet for them, though they have lost some games. But they have yet to play Team 12, so there's still an opportunity that we get into this crazy three-way tie situation between Team 12, Team Freedom, and Tempo Storm. We'll see how those two teams do as they play each other next weekend. But Jay Howe, the race is on for the top 4 spots, especially looking at those lower 2, 3rd, and 4th places and looking at how the rest of the standings are.
I mean, 5 teams are sitting at 1 and 2. I mean, the potential to move up or down is going to be very competitive. It's probably one of the most compelling things when we look across all of the major regions is that we have this just disparity of, okay, we got 1 or 2 really good teams, but nothing's really fleshed out yet. And then we have 5 teams all vying for those 3rd, 4th spot, potentially, depending on how this weekend's game goes. It's good stuff.
Yeah, and those 4 spots are so important because the top 4 teams of the region go on to represent North America at the Western Clash at the end of this part. So we definitely want to be seeing those shape out and see who's going to be representing us there. But for now, we're talking about today's matches. Now, if you missed it in Europe, Team Dignitas is channeling their inner Genji as they swiftly strike down every single opponent they go up against. They have yet to lose a single game in Europe, and that is crazy. Meanwhile, Team Liquid got a 3-1 win over Tricked Esports. Team Liquid looking back in after they had an upset of last weekend versus Diamond Skin. Later on, Equinox takes on his former team, Gale Force Esports, in an exciting match to close out the day. But first, our underdog LFM Esports going up against the Titan that is Team Freedom.
And you look at this and you see the team at the top versus one of the teams tied for one of those spots, and record hasn't really shaped up for that team. But we've seen progress from LFM, and this is actually a very intriguing matchup for me because what we've seen from Team Freedom so far is a little bit more of a safer approach, a very heavy macro-focused approach. But then we look on the other side at LFM, who at certain times have struggled to in the early part, but they find a way to come back, and they do it through team fighting. And when we've seen them play even up until that 10 mark, they've been able to gain control of those games and really make some plays. So it's a very contrasting play style, and I wonder if Freedom might get caught off guard with LFM style. So it's actually a much more intriguing matchup than it might seem on paper.
Yeah, both of these teams have shown phenomenal growth just in the last few weeks, the last couple weeks of play. So let's see if they can keep that up. We've got Team Freedom taking on LFM Esports for our first match of the weekend.
At the end of Game 5 against Gale Force Esports, everyone was really hyped, and we all know how everyone talked about us like the same way as Even Death. So getting the first win out of our way was really important for us, and it sort of just made us feel easier going to the following weeks because we don't have to worry about, you know, getting that first win anymore. Most of the players on Team Freedom has a really complete hero pool, so it's really hard trying to target them in draft. But we're working really hard to improve on our own rotations because we identify that as our own weakness after 3 series so far. If we can improve our rotation and make some adjustment to our draft, I think we'll do it right.
LFM's biggest strength is definitely team fighting. They're a little bit new to the pro scene, so they haven't really seen all the tricks that teams can pull up against them macro-wise, but team fighting, it's always the same, and they're really good at it. So we're not going to totally avoid team fights, but we are looking to, you know, get a little bit of an edge on the map before we accept a fight. I think that'll give us a pretty big advantage, and we're not the worst team fighters ourselves, so I'd say we're gonna see some close fights in all the games, but I am expecting to win the series pretty handily. I do look forward to matching up against Specialty. I think he's really good at playing Li Ming, and I myself love that hero as well. So it's always fun watching him play the hero and playing against it.
Both teams very understanding of what Team Freedom has over LFM, and that is the macro game. That's the early game rotations, but also respecting LFM's ability to really bring it in team fights. Now, when I've been looking at the stats for these teams, Nasmus is really starting to emerge for Team Freedom. Not only has he had such a leadership role within the team, but also as that solo laner, recently swapped, he dies the least of any solo laner in North America, 1.3 deaths per game. Goku's at 2.2, and then Glau's at 1.9. And granted, he does play less Leoric, so he's getting less of that trait value, but the amount of heroes that Nasmus has also shown has been really impressive. He does have a very large pool within that role for just switching to it.
Yeah, I've been very impressed as well. On the other side, we heard Yoda talk about T, formerly known as Specialty, that Li Ming play. He actually ranks in the top 6 right now in damage per minute. A lot of things haven't really shaped up just yet in terms of wins and confirming all of those kills, but they're definitely putting out the damage. Same for Draded. He's top 10 in the KD here in North America. And so they have a really big bright spot on that backside with that back line. We've already seen what Swabs can do on Dahaka. So there's a lot of really good things evolving for this team. So it's the evolutionary process that we have to see from here, but they actually do have a lot more going for them than meets the eye.
Let's get in the Battleground pool so we can get into the draft for Game 1 of this Best of 5 series. See bans on Towers of Doom, that's for an LFM, and that is a respect ban, no doubt, versus Team Freedom. And meanwhile, Volskaya Foundry banned by Team Freedom. That tends to be what we see them end up banning. And Team Freedom's going to pick Infernal Shrines for Game 1.
Infernal Shrines, not as much priority on the global, but one thing that we've seen from LFM on this map in particular is the Dahaka play Swabs with the insane isolation contagion upgrade that won them the game on Infernal Shrines last week. They also used that to kind of flank in those vents, those bushes on the backside. Currently right now in North America, or actually globally, Dahaka, 4% of the games in the first ban phase and 4% of the games in the second ban phase has been banned out. Swabs Magoo, Gilly, in 4 of the victories for LFM, he's played three times on Dahaka, which is a big part of their draft.
Yeah, that's one thing that I would like to see taken away from LFM by Team Freedom if we are seeing Team Freedom try to make sure that they're the ones in control of the macro game, because it's also a far safer pick for Swabs than anything else. Only 1.5 deaths per game on average when you look at his Dahaka, but his Leoric's doing 4 times per game. And we talk about trait value, but there's quite a difference there. It's gank ability. And for Swabs to be able to keep his team in the game macro-wise so that they get the opportunity to keep fighting in the late game, a big deal for him is that he has that global so that he can keep soaking even if they get behind. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Team Freedom try to deny that from them. And I wouldn't be surprised to see LFM maybe try to deny a Shimada brother from Lutano. He is ridiculous on those heroes.
11 games so far. I believe he's only lost 2 of those, if I'm not mistaken. So doing pretty good there, and he's doing very well at the top of that. You know, you mentioned Nasmus. One big hero for him he's played a couple times has been his Ragnaros play, and we've actually seen some pretty good Ragnaros play throughout North America on this battleground. So the solo laner is an interesting part for Nasmus in terms of he's already showing he's near the top, and then Swabs Magoo trying to show he belongs near the top. So that'll be an interesting part of the draft. I'm just wondering if either team is willing to prioritize it before that second ban.
Let's see if Draded picks up Hanzo here. Team Freedom has been more than willing to let a Shimada brother through, even when one is banned, like we see here. Just on the off chance that Lutano can pick up one of those. But it won't be the case here. We're going to get to see Draded's Hanzo and a quick Greymane ETC. Freedom going back to the fast drafts that we know and love from them.
They know what they want. You know, it was a very interesting thing earlier. After Dignitas won, Snitch had, during his interview, brought some insight towards leftovers, and it's kind of like they had something in mind of what they wanted to do without considering the other draft. But Team Freedom, a lot of time, kind of has that same route. They have very strong things that they can fall back on and rely on. You go with Greymane ETC to start off. They have a very direct nature in how they want to approach the game. Using Greymane, if you do decide to ignore an objective or split off early, Greymane has top-tier sieging potential on structures. We saw them utilize that in their rotations last week. It gives you that half level, and next thing you know, it's full level, and next thing you know, you're like, wait a minute, hold on, how did we get down a level and a half here? And that's what Team Freedom can do with this part of the draft.
And it's not like Freedom is over aggressive, I guess is a good way to say that, in how they draft, because they're more than willing to slow things down in the draft when they need to. When they went up against Tempo Storm on Sunday and they dealt with the Cho'Gall, the double melee composition, they dealt with a lot of different strategies that Tempo Storm had saved for them, even through the Team 12 drafts in that series. And the response from Freedom, their drafting and how they played those drafts, like the Ragnaros versus Cho'Gall, was excellent. So Freedom has this ability to both bring it and pick those picks right away, or also to just slow down and make sure that they're appropriately responding to their opponents.
Team Freedom, they have the opportunity to ban Dahaka here. Again, it's not banned a lot. Malthael actually ranks as the most banned hero in the second ban phase globally at 38%. That is an extraordinary rate compared to all other heroes in the second ban phase. So normally that solo laner is highly prioritized in this ban phase.
That was an interesting hover.
They go back to it.
Okay. Illidan has been in the past a counter pick versus the Dahaka. So let's see if Nasmus ends up playing that. This is the first time also that LFM has picked Tassadar with Hanzo. Before, they've wanted to play more of the Hanzo Li Ming so that T can still have his hero. But it seems one of the adaptations for LFM is to come in and adopt the strategy that's been working for a lot of teams of pairing that Tassadar along with Hanzo. Plus, he's going to offer a lot more for the Shrine Clear, the Wave Clear, give some vision to the team too, so there's a lot of utility there.
Yeah, that's between Johanna Tassadar. That's a really good start if you're playing around the objective, but we've seen teams that go all in that route. Doesn't really excel, but getting a strong part of that Shrine control is denying some of that Shrine control in Gul'dan, who is literally almost second to none in terms of the amount of control and poke that he gets. We've seen more of the Echoed Corruption build as opposed to that Fell Flame build at 1, which is a little bit safer, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And we've kind of seen it kind of shift back towards that.
Ooh. I do believe that's the first Collusion Alex Straza pick.
That is true.
Very nice. And Tychus. So the backline is all set up for Team Freedom. We're just waiting on the Nasmus hero. If he wants to get Dahaka, if he wants to get Ragnaros again.
Will he have a chance to even get Dahaka at this point?
Yeah, I wondered. I'm surprised to see that they didn't get that pick, being that Freedom has the one-up in the draft. LFM hasn't picked their solo yet, but this seems more like either, one, it's something hidden, and maybe the Illidan leads to that, even the Tyrael pick, or the Tyrael ban, or two, they just want to be able to respond using that Nasmus pick to whatever LFM gets to make sure that Nasmus wins the solo.
Zagara.
It wouldn't be a week here at any HGC. J-How's like, I gotta get my Zagara
Illidan is
thing.
the best counter towards global Zagara. No, I actually expect it to be a Ragnaros. We saw Gale Force, they used the Alex Straza Ragnaros combo on Infernal Shrines. They tended to use it a little bit with mixed results because they would get ahead and then they would team fight without trying to secure the objective.
What if LFM just takes it?
Unless LFM is like, look, we are having complete control over the Shrine here, and we're doing it with Ragnaros, Tassadar, Johanna. That is insane control over the Shrine.
It is, and that is statistically Nasmus's best hero now. The Ragnaros hasn't lost with it yet. He's 3-0. It has something like a 24 KDA because he just doesn't die.
Makes it easy.
If Freedom were hoping that they would be able to have those two huge traits between Dragon Queen and Molten Core as a way of making sure that Shrines never go to LFM, LFM takes that away, and that is because Freedom were willing to leave that solo laner till the end.
Still got Diva, though.
That's true. The Freedom pick.
The Freedom Diva is still a thing. I don't know how it'll work here because you have the roots. Johanna can use Iron Skin to walk away. Tassadar can Dimensional Shift. Hanzo, I hear he has a little bit of mobility to get away from things.
He's quite the natural.
Yeah.
Maybe it is. I would like that.
There we go.
Nice.
We got
it. These are going to be battles over Shrines between Self-Destruct, Dragon Queen. You've got the Odin, Molten Core. Woof.
I think the thing that scares me right now is the way that you can use this is that you have like the small little bumps. And I mean ETC and Tychus. And so what you can do is you can slide past, isolate somebody, and we'll see a lot of coordination from the D.Va and the ETC. If they both slide in, or one burst in, boost in, so you boost in, slide, boop them back. And we've seen them use it already, where you just kind of isolate one hero. It doesn't matter who it is. The good thing is for LFM is that they have one of those heroes is Johanna. We did see a Johanna actually get countered by that before, but you isolate one hero, you can bump them back in. You also have the grenade to keep them away, bump them back in. So the crucial things for me when it comes to this are going to be the roots from Malfurion. And that right there is enough alone. And the use of Iron Skin. Those are going to be two things that I think are going to be extremely key for LFM to survive around those shrines with the D.Va in play.
And if T is quick on the uptake and he's the target, he has Dimensional Shift too. And then the turnaround from that is very possible from LFM because they have Dragon's Arrow, because they have the Blessed Shield, Twilight Dream 2. They can try to turn around if too aggressive moves are made by Team Freedom. Let's see how it works out. A lot of control over shrines between these two teams. We're heading into Game 1 between Team Freedom and LFM Esports. I'm happy, man. We're back.
We're back. I mean, it feels good. Feels good. Let's both hit tab at the same time here. Either way, on the left side in blue, it's going to be Team Freedom. We're going to see if they can keep up their perfect record as they've started 3-0 in this league. It's going to be Zugrug on ETC, Lutano on Greymane, Nasmus on the D.Va, Yoda on Tychus, and Collusion on his first Alex Stronza of 2018.
And LFM Esports, the aware support player playing at Malfurion. Swabs will be on Ragnaros. Draded, he's going to be playing his Hanzo. Figgy on Johanna, and T playing the Tassadar. LFM, you heard it from Figgy, had their first victory over Gale Force Esports, and it was so motivating and so relieving to them that they were able to get that win. Gives them a lot more confidence in series, even against an opponent as formidable as Team Freedom.
I think the thing about it is that it's not like it was given to them. They earned it. They played well in all of those games. They found ways to come back when they were down. They found ways to close out in clutch moments. And those are going to be key things that when you approach that similar situation in the future, it makes it that much easier because you've been there, done that. So for LFM, I think they definitely do have a brighter future. Team Freedom, they're going to see if they can just keep them back a little longer.
You know what amazes me about that too is that that series went all the way to Game 5, and Gale Force Esports put Team LFM in a place where they had to win 2 games in a row at the end. They had to win 4 and 5. And a lot of teams, especially new teams, would maybe fall apart under that kind of pressure, but that, I feel like, is when you saw LFM really light up. That's when Swab started making that insane shoop-de-whoop Leoric play on Dragon. That's when you saw him make the Shrines play with the isolation at the end to stop Gale Force from winning off of a Sanctification. And seeing a team that's new within HGC be able to light up when the pressure's on, yeah, it gives me a lot of hope for this roster. And they're getting aggressive.
Yeah, they can. And there's not a lot of damage just yet. You have Greymane and you've got Tychus, which are really good in the initial burst, but because they've got double support on the side of LFM in the way that they've got shields, plus the heals from Malfurion, plus the Iron Skin, it makes it really tough. And Figgy's done really well disrupting those rotations. Johanna's one of the few heroes that you can do that on, where you can casually walk to the other side where you know the enemy team is going to be rotating, make use of that Iron Skin, and force the rotations, control the pace of the game. And pacing for me is a big thing, especially when you're going against a team like Team Freedom. So LFM off to a good start.
Team Freedom has been, versus some other opponents, including Gale Force Esports, at times been willing to not take an aggressive early advantage. Even on Sky Temple, we've seen them multiple times give up the second Temple phase just to push top, just to make sure that they are getting a fort, guaranteed taking a fort down, and then getting to a place where they feel more confident in team fights. If LFM truly has been able to work on their early game the way Drade had said, and they're able to start to force Team Freedom to be back in that spot, it would be a pretty big deal for LFM to be able to do that.
What do we make of this Alex Stronza build? This is a little bit different than what we've seen from the rest of the players.
A lot more Dragon Queen once you finish that level 1 quest, Flames of Fury, and then more control, more slows. The 60% instead of the 40 at level 4-7. You can get a self-heal. We'll see if she still goes for that or if she's going to go for something else, like still the Life Blossom. There's been a lot of adjustments around, but for this, trying to make sure you have Dragon Queen up a lot more often for the fights. That guarantees you're going to have that up more likely for the Shrines, but might also be able to have it somewhere else too. But it is the first time we've seen Collusion play, and Collusion sometimes likes to change the builds up.
Just a little bit. We'll see how early that Dragon Queen comes out. We've seen it used fairly early in most instances here on Infernal Shrines. You see the healing going down. Yoda eating quite a bit of damage. There it is. There's the isolation. Zugrug trying to get the knockback, but dimensional shift out for Tassadar.
The timing for that was excellent for at least getting some of the skeletal defenders. We're now looking at 19 to 8, and remember it's around 25 that you see Ragnaros players start to go in and take the Molten Core approach for safety. They don't have that yet, and 28 between Dragon Queen and Self-Destruct is there for Team Freedom, so LFM need to get in and get aggressive. They've been able to take down some of the health bars of Team Freedom, at least force them back so they have to go tap, and that gives them time to get back on the shrine. Feel like they haven't quite gotten enough. 30 to the 26. Nazmus getting fairly low on that Diva.
Zugra going in, trying to isolate. Tassadar uses the dimensional shift again. Now they're trying to turn the tables. Yoda sitting right at the edge of that, but it makes an easy root target. It's to all tied.
38 each. The Punisher's picked up. It's a blue and it's Team Freedom's, but they're going to lose ETC for it.
LFM is going well here. Losing Swabs is going to hurt them unless... Yeah, he's not going to make it out of there.
Oh, that is a bit unfortunate not to have Molten Core for this defense.
It is the first Punisher, so it's a little bit more forgiving, but the Arcane Punisher does really well to zone out. They should do more than okay to just lose the wall here. They just got to be careful. Without the ETC initiation, there's not a lot more Freedom can do. But the same way that we talked in the draft, Gilly, Freedom, they leave one person there to keep them honest. The rest of the heroes rotate out. They're going to make use out of it. Diva was clearing that middle lane. They instantly are able to get structure damage onto the mid. This is what Team Freedom does in North America better than anybody.
Yeah, very quick rotations, not overstaying with early objectives. Recognizing how powerful those early objectives are and giving them the amount of respect because of that. And for this one, it was just to go out, make sure that they're taking down most of this front wall. Collusion really wants
I want that
turret. You'll get it.
But see, that's where things are different, right? Is that in most North American scenes, we'll see teams either leave altogether, but this is a team that's able to get not one wall, but two walls with the first Punisher. And a lot of times it's like, all right, maybe we got a wall and a little bit of fort damage. Maybe we got another lane worth of damage. But we're talking about two complete walls. And that's what Team Freedom is doing differently. Figgy's going to get caught out here for another takedown. But Team Freedom, it was tied even, 8 to 8. Now all of a sudden, it's 9 3/4 to 9. This is the incremental part that is so valuable to the way their team plays.
And it's cool to see them, even though they don't quite have that 10, recognize that they're so close to it and they got that Johanna kill that LFM can't do anything about this invade. And because they rotated so fast to that mid lane, they've already taken down the fort or the well and the front towers, and they're going to force more of a response to that camp. Not only do we see a change up for the Alexstrasza build, but also for Nazmus's Diva build, getting Aggression Matrix for the cooldown reduction of Defense Matrix, and then having Fusion Generator at level 4 allows to make sure that he has his self-destruct up a lot more while at the same time reducing some of the damage of LFM. So sort of like the same that we see from the Alexstrasza. Wanting to have more Dragon Queens, same thing goes for more self-destructs.
Makes it a bit easier when you're going against Tassadar, who gets quite a bit of ticks out of both his auto attack and his Psy Storm. So long as he positions himself appropriately, definitely gets tremendous value out of that. Level 10, though, picked up here by both teams. Nothing out of the ordinary. No lava wave this game. We'll get that Sulfurous Smash. We'll see if Ragnaros can find a way to bring down the hammer in one of these team fights to try and turn it around.
Yeah, and there is the very big possibility of pulling Team Freedom into a choke, having the Blessed Shield, Sulfurous Smash, Twilight Dream, Dragon's Arrow, all of that at once, something to set up the other ones, and being able to get kills off of it. We'll see if Team Freedom is willing to bite in those scenarios, or if they feel like with the Dragon Queen, the Odin, and then just the posturing of that self-destruct and ETC is enough that they never really need to be pulled in past their half, their side of the shrine.
That is one heck of a combo. I mean, if you can get the Blessed Shield into that Dragon Arrow alone, that's a good start. You throw the big smash down on top of it. I think you got me sold on that combo. I want to see it now.
Let's see it, LFM. Here's your chance to shrine and shine.
Chance to shrine. All right, here we go. We saw LFM get a little bit late to the party with Ragnaros before. This time, all 5 are here in time, and Odin is out. See when the Dragon Queen comes out, as well as Molten Core.
And self-destruct, it's built up and ready. Zugruk and Nazmus up in front. Everyone, for the most part from LFM, staying off until they see that self-destruct when it goes down and waiting out that Odin. The Dragon Queen's been used by Collusion, 17-17. Another close shrine, Jay-How.
Another close one. Swab's finally going out there, getting that extra movement speed we see, but it's up to the rest of Team Freedom to sustain here. The Diva mech explosion going in. T just fine on the backside. Molten Core is out. It's starting to catch up.
Yeah, they're starting to bring that back up. Not too much was done with the self-destruct. Well, the Dragon Queen did get a lot. Oh, there's a Furious Smash, hits Nasmus. Zugrug, though, in the back with the two-man mosh pit. There goes the damage. Hanzo and Malfurion are gone in the blink of an eye as Team Freedom takes 2 quick kills and looks to take this shrine.
Just like that, the mosh pit is there. Sulfurous Smash. The minute Sulfurous Smash was used, Gilly, it opened the door for Freedom to go in and take advantage of that. All you had to really do is catch the right person. They've got Hanzo. They got a lot going there as far as interrupts. Just a very good awareness on the interrupts, potentially the stuns that were there. Zugrug waited as soon as he saw everything go out. It's an executed mosh pit right there.
Yeah.
Well executed.
It was super smart. Blessed Shield was down, Sulfurous Smash was down, and that might be enough to dissuade LFM from trying to get that wombo that we talked about, unless they know that they've got Zugrug inside of it. Also, Malfurion didn't take Nature's Cure, so even if he's outside of it, doesn't have a way of being able to remove that stun, hopefully let them get them back out before it gets caught back in. So it's going to be rough for LFM, and having Malfurion and Hanzo inside of that wasn't how LFM were hoping that to go. And Team Freedom, they've put a lot into making sure they get these shrines, and so far, the game plan is paying off beautifully.
I will say I like that LFM is adapting there. And that was an opportunity. They used Tychus in the top lane to clear out that lane, making sure that those minions could get to the wall, and then Freedom to rotate in with that Grey Mane to try and get some structure damage in. LFM recognized after the first shrine where they gave up that second wall, were unwilling to have the same thing happen again. They had a quick rotation, did not give up any structure damage. So credit for LFM for the adaptation here in the middle of the game.
LFM still in this, have 13, can look for a team fight somewhere if they can catch someone out. Freedom are playing pretty safely, rotating as a team, safety in numbers, except for Diva. Figgy checks out, says hello to Nasmus, who boosters away. But even if you catch Diva, such a safe hero to have off by themselves. And seeing a lot of LFM down at the bottom, Team Freedom are going to use this opportunity just to try to punish LFM for making a rotation altogether except the Tassadar and push down for that final top 4, which is where the next shrine will be.
Yeah, and you kind of got to decide if you're LFM, are we willing to give that up? The problem now is they need to clear this quickly and then fall back in defense of their keep wall. This is kind of a weird spot for most teams, is that, look, by the time you make it up there, you're not going to be able to defend against that because they'll just rotate out earlier. But if you stay down and try and trade, the other team already has a lead. They already have the advantage, and that shrine is in the top lane. So Team Freedom, a calculated, I guess, showing at the bottom, failed gank attempt, and then instant response. This is the type of macro that I see from the top teams that have been at the international scenes. Freedom has been there, but I've never seen them on this level before, and it looks really good. I'm really impressed by all of the macro decisions that we see from Team Freedom.
Yeah, that top push was so good for multiple reasons. You talked about the shrine, but just the fact that that was the time for LFM to look for a fight. They went for a gank bottom, didn't get it because it's a Diva, the smart choice for Team Freedom to have by herself, and then using that, immediately pushing top, because they were a level ahead already. Now Freedom is still a level ahead, but it's a level ahead with a talent tier, a big talent tier, as the shrine's about to activate, which forces LFM to try to make sure that they're just getting some camps out on the board. They're trying to get to that 16, but that lets Freedom start the shrine sooner.
When this plays out, LFM is by no means out of this. But if this goes really well for Freedom and they get a shrine and say they get top keep or win the game, you could look at that failed gank attempt, that one thing that Freedom did better than the other team in that brief moment. I don't think we're going to have that. The probability of that is low, but things are definitely in Freedom's favor. However, LFM back on 16 can just as easily turn that around right here in one team fight.
Yeah, they got that 16 fast enough that Freedom don't have too much of a lead on the shrine. Ragnaros is going to use Molten Core very early. This is the change-up. This is the thing that LFM are trying to do to maybe see if what kind of adjustment they can make, if they can get their first shrine. Nasmus takes a whole lot of damage. Has that armor reduction from Hanzo.
That's not really pan out the way that they wanted. They still find themselves behind in skeletal defenders. They're having a hard time confirming kills. Zugrug making space for the rest of his team, but the Dragon Queen, we've got the Cleansing Flames out. for safety.
Yeah, very well done to make sure that you didn't go down there, Collusion, because T went into Archon, the Sulfura Smash was there, they were really going after Collusion. Not finding that, they took some time away from that Dragon Queen, but the rest of Freedom was very focused on getting the Shrine while the Odin and the front line were zoning LFM away. Team Freedom gets the Shrine, and they're working on getting some keep damage done, potentially, with this push.
That was a risk versus reward. Molten Core trying to secure the Shrine, unable to do so. Now they don't have it for defense. This was already opened up in the previous few minutes when they softened up this lane. So, again, things definitely in favor of Team Freedom. They just open up these small windows, and they just start to slowly creep in. And you're like, man, how did we get here? And that's what Team Freedom does. But I really like that LFM is really going for it. They know that their opportunities from here on out are going to be limited. If they give this up, they lose a keep, maybe at best in their scenario, and then they're going to be down in that respect for the rest of the game. And then the 20 race will be a little bit more difficult. They'll find themselves down for that. So timing-wise, LFM is trying to make the right things happen. Freedom trying to end the game right here.
Freedom making sure that everything's ready, have the pause, but now we're back into it. Nasmus has a self-destructive push along with this. There it is. And that zones away from dealing damage, more damage to that Punisher, as LFM had to back off. The keep secured, Freedom will go ahead and back off. It is a place where we talked about it. LFM, it's one of the few places left where they can possibly get a fight. Team Freedom had used a lot for that Shrine. They still have Mosh Pit, but they'd used Dragon Queen. They'd used Cleansing Flame. They didn't have the Odin to siege along with it, so they'd rather make the safe play, especially since Team Freedom has been in control of this entire game.
Instant aggression as they move directly to the middle. They'll look for the invade, and if you're Team Freedom, you simply walk away from this. The amount that you gain from this is very limited. The Sulfura Smash just out there. Lutano is going to fall. This is such a crucial moment that LFM just got that kill. That gives them the advantage. They'll push this wall in, hopefully look for a fort, but this gives them the experience they need to make sure that they're 20 by the time the next Shrine phase is there. That's a mistake by Freedom.
Yeah, it was a rough place to be in once they recognized that LFM were coming for them, because the only place out is the choke point, and we saw what Dragon's Arrow did to ETC and to Greymane. But even being there, knowing that that's the only place that LFM, they're going to go straight to wherever they think Team Freedom would be, which would likely be their safe camp. LFM making the right decisions, and that's something that we've talked about them last weekend. They know when they have to take a fight, and they know where to be to make sure that that happens. It's crucial for them, and it's let them have the success that they've had. Now, they don't get the fort there. They're still a level behind, but they're doing what they need to do to get back in the game.
There are many teams that are, I guess, much more recognized right now than LFM that don't know to make these decisions, that they are unwilling to pull the trigger on, look, guys, we're going to run out of opportunities eventually. Let's go for it. LFM somehow has this knack for finding their way back in. It doesn't mean that they're going to win the game. It just means that they find an opportunity to get back in the game to give them that opportunity. This is what I love about this team, is that they just always find a way. If you get down that level or so, they look for the fight and they're not afraid to do it.
Yeah, if someone will give them the chance, they'll take it. Team Freedom kind of seemed like they were out again. They wanted to get that camp in the bottom, but they saw Tassadar laning in the top, dealing with the catapults. LFM are going to push in again, desperate to take out this fort, climb back in with experience, and use that Khazra camp to get something done. With the second Psionic Storm, the Psionic Echo, they're nearly bringing that fort down, and the Khazra will secure it.
I'm glad that they got that, but they really need to concentrate on clearing out that top lane, pushing it back, as well as soaking bot lane. It's very crucial for them to not miss out on any more experience. They got that, but what they lost in the other lanes might have outweighed it. And right now, they're going to find themselves down. They still have Molten Core to fall back on if they do lose the Shrine because of 20, and they can defend at the keep. But they've definitely found an opportunity to get themselves back in the game, and it's keeping Team Freedom honest.
And Freedom will have that top camp pushing up along with the catapults, which will be more of an issue for LFM. LFM going straight to the Shrine, not getting their camp, not staying out in the lanes, trying to see if they can get a pick before 20 hits for Team Freedom, but it is dangerously close.
It is insanely close. I mean, if they're going to do it, they got to go right now. Figgy walking forward, looking for that fight. Tassadar deep in, using that Archon to make sure he has that second shift. Zugrug and team falling back. They recognize they need to get 20. They also have a camp and catapults top lane, so things are in Freedom's favor. They just got to play slow.
Yeah, slow and steady wins the race when you're Team Freedom here. Top still pushing. Shrine is still in favor of Freedom. No kills gained by LFM, and they're starting to fall back, respecting the level 20 of Team Freedom, which means another Shrine. Freedom have a chance to be able to take this very quickly. Don't see them holding it out unless they want to try to push out multiple lanes. But in this case, trying to make sure that they can get it and pushing before LFM gets 20, at least to have all of the possible pressure against LFM.
They've done really well, have LFM, but this is a tough defense here. Without 20, they'll get it probably in the middle of this. If they hold, Molten Core will go out and help the defense here, but with Big Red Button and Odin, that will go down quickly. They need to bait this over. Good use of Iron Skin, but they're not out of the woods yet. They have a tough defense. This keep will likely go down. They just can't afford to lose anybody.
Yeah, Molten Core is already done and gone, and the Punisher is still very healthy as he goes back in. Starting to set up to see if they can get the bait, get the damage. Odin still goes. The jump is in. They've got the bomb too. So Fair Smash goes out. It does a lot of damage to Zugrug, but still Team Freedom staying alive thanks to that cleansing flame.
They are. They're trying to shield the core, but right now with everybody still alive, they get the takedown on ETC, who's got the death damage. That's 2 members down, but 20% and falling is the core of LFM. There we go. All right, I was gonna say. Team Freedom taking game number 1, but not without a fight from LFM.
Yeah, LFM fought where they could. They fought over the earlier shrines. They went straight over to the Khazra camp and tried to invade and did get a kill from that. It's just that it wasn't enough for all the damage that they had sustained by that point by Team Freedom. And meanwhile, Freedom did exactly what Yoda said they would do, which is not really give LFM the one thing that they felt maybe would allow LFM to take any wins versus them.
I think a lot of people can take note of what Team Freedom is doing, especially on Infernal Shrines. This is 2 weeks in a row I've seen it, and I'm just absolutely impressed by the way that they're using their rotations. A Greymane is a big component of that, by the way, because of the instant structure damage. You split one person off in the lane, you take that 4-man, you have that person soft push out the lane. What that does is it allows the minions to be at that gate wall by the time you rotate up. Teams like Team Expert were kind of like on the front of that when they started, like, what if we just kind of ignore the objective, right? But then it was really Dignitas. Dignitas has one of the best examples I've ever seen when they used a Leoric, Abathur, Greymane composition on this against the North American team last year at BlizzCon. It was one of the most impressive performances, and it looks like Team Freedom has really picked up on that. And I think that this battleground for Team Freedom is a huge plus for them.
Even in Korea, KSV Black would put on a clinic for how